motivated, and sane. So all of the books are available outside in the lobby, and you can purchase it during lunch. So basically, they're going to share a lot of information, so be prepared. All right? So let's give a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Yeah.
So thank you, Karen, for inviting us. Is that too loud? It's okay. Okay, good. We are delighted to be here. And Diana's gone, but we want to thank her for her insights in that first presentation. We're going to strive to be mindful as we do this presentation.
We also wanted to thank the Encinitas Mindfulness Community and the California Institute for Human Science for hosting this event.
We've reserved some time for questions at the end. And if you have any questions during the presentation, jot them down on the notepad that is included in the goodie bag. And we'll get to it at the end.
You'll also find a resource sheet. It's either green or white, and it's two sides. It has a lot of the ideas that we talk about during this presentation.
And more.
Yeah, well.
Our topic today is plant-based healing.
A plant-based diet is really great, but beware they might have some unexpected side effects. Just don't do my belly. So, who's excited to be here? Okay.
Is there anyone who's not excited to be here, who was dragged here by someone who is excited to be here? I know there's one. Dave, I'm looking at you over there.
We know Kate's dragged you.
Yeah, we're going to be picking on you the rest of the presentation. So we're going to start with a story about how your point of view can make all the difference.
In 1949, 15 smoke jumpers were caught in a rapidly approaching firestorm.
Most of them ran, but the foreman had an inspiration. He stopped, lit a fire at his own feet to burn the fuel around him, and his quick thinking saved his life. 3,200 acres burned, but he alone survived, nearly unharmed. This kind of defensive fire is now known as an escape fire.
It's just tragic to think that the solution was right there, but the other smoke jumpers just didn't see it. They weren't able to see it in the moment. They weren't open to a completely different point of view.
It's the same with most Americans and our eating habits. Most of us are so entrenched in our habits that we don't even stop to think about other alternatives or the consequences. And there are huge consequences.
86% of the $3.6 trillion spent on healthcare in the U.S. is for treating chronic diseases.
The American Heart Association recently confirmed about 48% of the U.S. population suffers from some form of cardiovascular disease.
And it's predicted that half of Americans will be diabetic or pre-diabetic in the next 10 years.
And obesity is running rampant. There are definitely medical causes of obesity, such as hypothyroidism, but that doesn't account for the runaway numbers that we're seeing. More than 2 in 3 Americans are considered to be overweight or obese. Obesity has tripled worldwide since 1975 and has huge health consequences.
We need someone to light an escape fire under our feet to help us escape from the inferno of chronic disease that is sweeping through our population. All it takes is a shift in perception to see the situation from a different point of view.
That's what Donna and I are here to do today, to share a different point of view with you about food so that you can light your own escape fire.
So a little bit about our background. I know Karen said a lot of it, but we're probably going to repeat some of it. But anyway, we met in July of 1989.
That's almost 30 years.
I know. So after muddling our way through some other relationships, Dave especially, we are very grateful that we found each other.
You bet. So I'm David, and like Karen, I retired from a career as a full-time college professor, but math instead of English. I retired from full-time teaching in 2012 but I still teach at one online class each semester. I also enjoyed an avocation as a digital artist, displaying an art walk in Little Italy for many years.
If you've ever been to our house is like an art gallery.
At home, I'm the head chef, devoted gardener, and intrepid landscape architect.
I love that head chef part. And oh, by the way, David has written 12 books and manuals, mostly about printers, word processing, desktop publishing, graphics, and sound. But his latest book, Handbook to Higher Health Consciousness, is on how to transition to plant-based eating to heal yourself and the planet. You'll hear more about this book as we go along.
And Tracy Childs, pictured in the upper right corner, contributed over 100 recipes to the book. She's a mover and shaker in the plant-based movement in San Diego, and she's helping out today. Say hi, Tracy. She's right there.
And I'm Donna. I've enjoyed a variety of careers, including counselor, acupuncturist, and more recently, author, and I do a little bit of lifestyle coaching as well.
Obviously, she enjoys helping people.
Obviously.
So Donna's first bestseller was I'm Still Alive Now What? And just to see it one more time, it's about how to survive and thrive after a life-changing event. And here she's pictured with her mentor, Jack Canfield, the chicken soup for the soul guy.
By the way, he has the same birthday as David. He's a little older. I like those Leos.
Her other books are a handbook for the compassionate ones and turbocharged vision boards. She's also currently writing a book about her unusual approach to cancer recovery.
So as a recent survivor, as Karen mentioned, of stage 4 cancer, this is the first time I've spoken really publicly about it, so I used a lot of different ways to heal. My unique approach to healing included surgery, integrative medicine, and of course, healthy eating. I'll describe later how plant-based eating helped fuel my recovery and how I'm using it to keep the cancer from coming back.
We started on our plant-based journey in 2012 unexpectedly when a colleague challenged me to watch the documentary Forks Over Knives. She had transformed herself, losing well over 100 pounds during the previous year, so I was definitely intrigued.
The central theme of this documentary is to use food as medicine. That is, eat healthy food with a fork so you don't have to undergo surgery.
Donna and I found the documentary on Netflix and watched it that very night. The film reveals that most of our chronic diseases can be controlled and even reversed by avoiding animal-based and processed foods. It showcases groundbreaking research that establishes an undeniable link between what we eat and our health.
The film features 2 scientists who independently came to the conclusion that plant-based eating is vital for optimal human health. Dr. T. Colin Campbell, pictured here, spearheaded the China study, one of the most comprehensive studies of human nutrition ever conducted.
It showed an overwhelming correlation between the consumption of animal products and the incidence of heart disease and cancer.
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn was a heart surgeon who had an epiphany. He realized that heart surgery saved people's lives, but it didn't really cure them. Patients who didn't change their lifestyle kept coming back for additional surgeries.
His research led him to discover that diet and lifestyle are the real cure. He conducted 2 landmark studies that cured and even reversed heart disease in terminally ill patients by switching them to a whole food, plant-based diet with no oil.
The message in the film was so compelling that we looked at each other and we decided to change our eating habits on the spot.
Neither of us wanted to deal with the same afflictions that had plagued our parents. Our parents had suffered from high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and even dementia. So we embarked on a new path of healthier eating.
Here's a relevant cartoon we found. In case you can't read it, it says,
You should really watch the documentary Forks Over Knives.
change our eating habits, David did a tremendous amount of research on the nutrition factors and health benefits of plant-based eating. He even completed a certificate program for plant-based nutrition through eCornell. Seeing his passion and knowing he's such a great educator, I strongly encouraged him to assemble his research into a book.
The book took about 4 years to complete and was published in December 2017.
The insights we've gained over the past 6.5 years have changed our lives tremendously. It's as if we had blinders on before.
We were blind to the devastation of the environment caused by the industrial animal agriculture.
We were also blind to the suffering of animals in the production of eggs, dairy, and meat.
We were blind to the powerful forces of the food industries and the government that collaborate to keep us eating the standard American diet.
What we now call the sad diet.
Most importantly, we were blind to the fact that what we were eating had a direct effect on our health, and that what most Americans are eating is the root cause of the chronic diseases that plague our nation.
Our eyes are now open to many new insights, and we will share some of those with you today. Our hope is that, armed with this information, you will make mindful and healthy choices every time you eat.
Mindful choices, like Diana said. Let's take a closer look at the health situation in the U.S. today. By a show of hands, how many of you know someone who suffered from heart disease, cancer, or diabetes? Almost everybody.
So it's not surprising, chronic diseases are responsible for every 10 deaths in the U.S., killing more than 1.7 million Americans every year.
Heart disease, cancer, and stroke alone cause more than 50% of all deaths each year, and the rates have increased dramatically since 1900.
Notice that heart disease, in red, thank you, Anna, increased from 12% in 1900 to 33% in 2010. Cancer, in purple, went from 6% to 32%. This information comes directly from the Centers for Disease Control. And the rate of obesity, like Diana had talked about earlier, it's also increased from less than 12% in the 1960s to more than 35% of the population today, and it may reach 50% by 2030.
By a show of hands, how many of you either take or know people who take several prescription medications every day?
Yeah, just about everybody.
Yeah.
So taking prescription medications to manage chronic disease has become a way of life for many of us. The percentage of Americans taking more than 5 prescriptions has nearly tripled in the last 20 years.
And during the same time frame, the number of prescriptions filled by Americans increased 85%, while the population only increased 21%.
Speaking of medications, what do you think of this kind of pharmacy?
Take one a day with tomatoes and cucumber.
It's from the pharmacy.
It's a different kind of pharmacy. So Americans are taking more medications to manage chronic diseases, but the amazing thing is that many of these chronic diseases are preventable. Most people think disease is the result of bad luck, genetics, or simply aging.
But it's rarely any of these.
It's the food. Take heart disease, for example. Donna's dad died of a sudden heart attack at age 58. He was originally from the South, where they ate lots of fried foods.
You know, bacon grease in almost everything. And we also lost a close relative who was just about David's age to a sudden heart attack just this past January.
Toby had been eating one of those high-fat diets, and suddenly he was gone. The typical Western diet is so full of animal products, saturated fat, and processed foods that heart disease has become our #1 killer. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Did you know that heart disease is entirely optional?
Are you sure? How can that be?
Well, there are numerous cultures around the world in which heart disease is virtually non-existent. It's not a genetic thing. These cultures are very, very diverse.
These populations don't have heart disease because they thrive on whole food, plant-based nutrition without oil. No oil and plant-based, that's the key.
Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who we talked about earlier, he's in Forks Over Knives, he's shown that you can not only prevent heart disease with diet and modest lifestyle changes, you can in fact reverse it. That's right, you can literally reverse heart disease with diet.
This slide shows a close-up of a diseased artery on the left, but on the right you see the same artery completely recovered. You can see the huge difference there in 32 months due to no oil, plant-based diet, all without cholesterol-lowering medications. Your body has absolutely amazing healing powers if you just feed it the right fuel.
And the same diet that reverses heart disease can also stop a host of other maladies, such as those listed on the screen and many more. But very few people know about it.
Instead, Americans are eating a diet that promotes chronic disease, which then necessitates the use of prescription medications to deal with the symptoms.
It makes you wonder how all this came about.
There are several key factors that contributed to the development of our current Western diet and the associated chronic diseases.
In the early 1900s, the government created subsidies of wheat and corn to feed livestock and make meat more affordable.
It seemed like a good idea, but unfortunately it had devastating health and environmental consequences. Nevertheless, meat became a fixture in the American diet.
Processed foods make up about 70% of the U.S. diet. Many of today's processed foods are actually intentionally designed to be addictive, and they're generally devoid of nutrition.
The fast food industry has also become an integral part of the Western diet. Fast food is cheap, tasty, and convenient. It's an unbeatable combination, but decidedly unhealthy.
Another really strong influence on the development of the current Western diet is the advertising industry. We are constantly bombarded by ads for addictive food.
For example, the food industry spends $10 to $15 billion on marketing junk food to our kids every year. 10 to 15 billion. Ad campaigns, slogans, and songs infiltrate our subconsciousness and influence our food decisions.
You deserve a break today.
Oh, kind of like
get
that.
up and get a break.
Yes,
Like that?
yes, that's infiltrating.
So these four factors, along with a few others, strongly influence the eating patterns that emerged in America during the 1900s.
You know the ones: turkey for Thanksgiving, eggs for breakfast, milk for our baby bottles, and ice cream for dessert. These traditions were handed down to the next generations as if they were the natural order of things.
When we follow these traditional eating patterns, it fills the coffers of big money, but it is in fact injurious to our health.
And it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to be captive to our eating habits. We can make choices to counteract the ads, counteract the temptations, and counteract the unhealthy traditions by educating ourselves about nutrition and finding healthier ways to eat.
So, obviously a central theme of today's workshop is mindfulness. So, let's be mindful and make conscious choices when we shop and when we eat, as well as when we plan our family get-togethers.
Every meal involves a choice, whether to eat based on outdated habits or to eat for greater health.
So, what does healthy eating really look like, David?
I'm glad you asked. Researchers know more today about nutrition and human health than at any time in history, and yet most of us are more confused than ever. First we hear fat is bad.
Then we hear butter is back.
We hear that eggs cause high cholesterol.
Then we hear that they don't.
What are we to believe?
The food industry actually wants to keep us confused because in a sea of confusion, people just go back to their old bad eating habits.
However, recent medical science is quite clear. Most research organizations in the world encourage us to eat fresh, whole, plant-based foods.
So there's this titanic battle between current research and the status quo. Research shows that there are undeniable health benefits of eating plant-based whole foods, and yet there are forces that want us to keep us eating the standard American diet.
You mean the SAD diet?
Yeah, I mean the sad diet.
Just checking. This is not the first time this has happened. Look what happened with smoking in the last century. The preponderance of evidence showed that cigarettes were not healthy, yet the tobacco industry vigorously denied it, and the American public bought it for many years.
This smoke screen lasted for decades until the scientific evidence finally won out and the American population made a major shift away from smoke.
And here we go again. We have mounds of scientific evidence that the consumption of animal products is incontrovertibly linked to disease. Yeah.
I can't say it. Yet big money interests are conjuring up another smokescreen. The meat, dairy, and egg industries are pulling out all the stops to keep us confused and eating their products regardless of the consequences to our health. It's time for another major paradigm shift, this time in American eating habits. Americans must make a change despite the addictive nature of animal products and the powerful economic forces promoting their use.
We are confident that the scientific evidence will eventually win out. There are signs that change is already well underway. Google searches show that interest in veganism is spreading rapidly. Vegan food is set to be a top trend in 2019, according to Uber Eats.
In fact, it's easier than ever to adopt a plant-based lifestyle. Plant-based alternatives are showing up in supermarkets and restaurants alike.
A few years ago, there were only a handful of vegan or vegan-friendly restaurants in San Diego. Now there are dozens. So stop by our table to get an updated list. You can pick up one of these if you're interested at our table.
So, here's my cancer survival story. Okay, like I said, this is really the first time I've spoken about it in front of a big group. So, bear with me. So, I'm standing in front of you today just I'm just really extremely grateful to be alive and to be able to share my story with you. And I have energy and I'm healthy today. Thank goodness. So rewind to June of 2018, really just last year. I got a call from my gynecologist and she said the biopsy was positive and we've discovered that you have cancer. So you can imagine my world just completely stopped, and the rest of what she had to say was kind of lost in a big blur. I was in shock and disbelief, and my mind just kind of started racing. I thought, this can't be happening. It's not happening. Yeah, it is happening. And then I thought, well, maybe this is my time. You know, everybody has a time. And then I think, no, not me, not yet. Just like Diana was talking about earlier, my mind was just like racing. And then, you know, my stomach was all quivery and my heart was beating really fast. And I did have the wit to ask her what the diagnosis was, the official diagnosis. And I wrote it on a scrap piece of paper, endometrial adenocarcinoma. You can tell by my handwriting how unsettled I felt. That basically means uterine cancer. 10 days later, I was in surgery having a radical hysterectomy. The hope was that they would be able to remove all the cancer. However, it wasn't to be. I could still see my son's distraught face when I was in the recovery room. He said, "Mom, be prepared. The results are worse than we expected."
The surgeon came in shortly and told Donna that what he had already told me and the rest of the family. The cancer had probably been growing at least a decade, and it had spread.
I could still hear his words, "You have stage 4 cancer." And I knew enough to know that that was not good news. He wanted me to go into many, many rounds of chemotherapy just as soon as I healed from the surgery. Luckily, I knew I had choices.
The surgeon and the oncologist were not happy with Donna when she told them that we were researching other ideas besides full-on chemo. We knew that there are cancer-fighting foods and that cancer is not necessarily a death sentence.
And because of my background in Chinese medicine, I knew that there were other ways of healing. We had watched documentaries like The Truth About Cancer and had heard many, many people's stories of recovery from cancer using primarily food as medicine.
Donna's healing plan included lots of juicing and healthy foods to flood her system with nutrients. She modified her diet to emphasize even more cancer-fighting foods.
Yeah, some days I wake up in the morning and I hear the juicer going. David was down there already, downstairs already preparing my juice for the day.
Yeah.
Such a great support. So I also made a bold choice and I followed an integrative medicine path.
Donna created her own treatment protocol that emphasized strengthening her immune system. She used natural substances such as mistletoe, along with some low-dose chemotherapy, acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and supplements. And she had the courage to totally eliminate all refined sugar.
That was tough.
Yeah. She did it though, and she kept her body alkaline.
Cancer doesn't like an alkaline body. So, and I traveled regularly to a cancer treatment center up in Irvine, and I got some IVs of mistletoe and a low-dose chemo. You can see there I am. And I consulted with the integrative medicine doctors there.
Numerous cancer recovery sites and experimental studies emphasize that emotional stress can have significant effect on cancer growth. So Donna took proactive steps to reduce the stress in her life.
Another key element to my healing was gathering a support team around me. In addition to the medical professionals, the team included David, my sisters, my extended family, and my friends. I was placed on numerous prayer lists, Buddhist, Catholic, you name it, Hindu, I was on all the lists, unity, everything. And then another area of support came from an intention group. The intention group was inspired by this book called The Power of Eight.
The book describes studies showing that a group of at least 8 people holding a common intention is very powerful in healing others.
It's by Lynn McTaggart. I don't know if you could read it up there.
Yeah.
Come back.
Come back then.
So what I did, I read the book, and then I sent out an email to my friends, and I said, I need 8 people. And incredibly, the response was overwhelming. Immediately, I had 32 people, which quickly grew to over 50 people.
The group collectively held the intention for Donna's complete healing, even down to the DNA and cellular level, and it took place at a designated time every week.
This proved to be really just an incredible relief to me. There were not a lot of dark moments, but there were some dark moments when I was just like, I wonder if this is really working. I had some doubt and some fear. And I remember one night I just was kind of in that mode. And then I thought, oh, the intention group's happening in 10 minutes. So I just put myself in a receptive mode. And what happened during those 10 minutes when people were using their power of intention, the light of their loving just pulled me right out of that. And I kind of went into almost like a sleep state or meditative state. And when I came out of that, I was like, oh, I'm back. All my resolve and everything was back. And I credit that to that power of intention because I was not expecting that.
Great. The results of this integrated approach were nothing short of miraculous. It was only 4 months from the diagnosis to her clear scans. Yeah. Yay.
Now my energy's back, and really, again, I'm so grateful that I can talk to you today about it.
Yeah, I'm grateful too.
So I continue to use food to keep cancer at bay. Luckily, the same foods that protect against cancer also protect against the other major chronic diseases. I hope you consider adding some of these foods so that you can do the same, and the list is actually included on your resource sheet.
Oh, shoot.
Don't feel like you have to write it
That
all
list.
down.
We've learned that cancer cells are constantly being created in all of our bodies. Fortunately, a healthy immune system will kill the cancer cells. It's crucial to eat plant-based foods to nourish your gut microbiome, which supports your immune system. Feeding the healthy bacteria in your digestive system with plants creates the optimal environment for your immune system, and that keeps the cancer cells in check.
So variety is a key to getting a balance of nutrients. The acronym GBOMS, coined by Dr. Joel Herman, is a handy way to remember the most nutrient-dense foods. And I believe they're in your handout as well.
Yeah, GBOM stands for greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Every one of these is on the list because they're cancer-fighting and health-promoting.
G is for greens.
Do we go move to Sesame Street?
So leafy greens help your body produce what's called nitric oxide, which is critical for optimal artery and heart health. Some of our favorite leafy greens include
Bok choy,
Swiss chard,
kale,
collards,
beet greens,
mustard greens,
turnip greens,
cabbage,
Brussels sprouts,
broccoli,
cauliflower,
cilantro,
parsley,
spinach,
arugula,
and asparagus.
asparagus.
There's a ton of them.
B is for beans. The beans category represents all legumes, including lentils, beans, and peas. Beans are sources of protein, iron, and zinc, as well as fiber, folate, and potassium. Eating beans, peas, or lentils at least twice a week has been shown to decrease colon cancer risk by 50%. Significant.
O and M are for onions and mushrooms. Onions represent the allium family, which includes garlic, leeks, and onions.
Garlic is often listed as one of the best cancer-fighting foods. Onions and mushrooms contain certain protective phytochemicals that are not found in other foods.
So don't sell them short. For example, one study showed that women eating an average of 1 mushroom a day had 64% lower risk of breast cancer.
B is for berries. Berries provide antioxidants and fight cancer. Our favorites include acai berry,
Indian gooseberry,
blackberry,
blueberry,
cranberry,
boysenberry,
goji berry,
strawberry.
and raspberry.
S is for seeds and nuts. Seeds and nuts make a delicious snack, and they're also nutritious as well.
Just a quarter cup of nuts a day may add years to your life. Walnuts in particular have the highest antioxidant omega-3 levels as well as cancer-fighting ability.
Flax seeds have amazing healing properties, and if you eat a tablespoon of ground flaxseed every day, your body will thank you for it.
S is not for spices and herbs in the GBOM system, but it could be. The flavor compounds in spices and herbs are powerful antioxidants. Turmeric may be arguably the spice with the most healing power, but other healing spices include ginger, amla, which is Indian gooseberry, peppermint, oregano, cilantro, and cloves.
And by the way, many of these spices and herbs are used as remedies in Chinese medicine.
Choose a variety of foods from the GBOMS list.
Also, be careful with buying foods on the Dirty Dozen list. And this is also included in your handout.
Right.
These foods are particularly susceptible to contamination from pesticides and other toxins.
Be sure to buy organic selections of the foods on that Dirty Dozen list whenever possible.
Another important shopping guideline is to eat the rainbow. Choose the most colorful fruits and vegetables. The pigments that give plants their colors are called flavonoids. The flavonoids in the most colorful foods provide tremendous nutrition.
Don't think of plant-based diet as restrictive. You don't eat less, you eat more. You just eat nutrient-rich foods. We now know that plant-based foods contain the most concentrated sources of nutrients that our bodies need to survive.
Plant foods provide a plethora of healthy nutrients such as antioxidants, phytochemicals, and the rest of the nutrients you see on the screen.
Knowledge is knowing tomatoes are fruit.
Wisdom is not going in a fruit salad.
I don't Philosophy is wondering if that means ketchup is a smoothie. Eating a whole food plant-based diet can promote healing in a remarkably short period of time. Numerous documentaries show examples of rapid healing.
In a short amount of time. It's just amazing how you can counteract the cumulative effects of a poor diet in so short a period of time. This is Joey Coyne in the film Forks Over Knives. He suffered from type 2 diabetes and was a candidate for heart attack and stroke.
He went from taking 9 pills and 2 shots per day down to 0 medications within just a few days after adopting a whole food plant-based diet.
Here's another documentary for you. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It's about Joe Cross, and he was on a personal mission to regain his health.
Joe was more than 100 pounds overweight and suffering from a debilitating autoimmune disease that caused rashes all over his body. So Joe had tried other remedies, but in a last-ditch effort, he vowed to drink nothing but fresh fruit and vegetable juice for 60 days. And during that time, he lost 82 pounds and eliminated all symptoms of his disease.
Pretty incredible, huh? Yeah. So the film Plant Pure Nation documented 5 jump starts over a 6-month period. Jumpstart participants ate a whole food plant-based diet and consistently showed improvement in blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, and glucose levels. This was incredible because each jumpstart only lasted 10 days.
10 days. It's not surprising that a plant-based lifestyle can help people heal quickly. Recently, Dr. Dean Ornish and his colleagues demonstrated that gene expression can be turned off and on in only a matter of months by changing diet and lifestyle.
In these studies, participants followed a plant-based diet and made modest lifestyle changes. The results were astonishing. In only 3 months, more than 500 genes that promote health were turned on, and hundreds of cancer-promoting genes were turned off.
This was an amazing revelation to us. It means that the genes we inherit from our parents are not in absolute control. We can take charge. We can change how those genes affect our health by simply changing what we eat.
And while you're taking charge of your health, remember to also strive for inner peace. For inner peace. Some people ask if there's an optimal human diet.
Perhaps the closest thing is exemplified by people living in areas called blue zones, such as those identified on the map.
You'll notice that Loma Linda is the only blue zone in the United States. And that's because it's populated by Seventh-day Adventists who follow predominantly vegetarian lifestyle.
People in the blue zones not only enjoy the longest lifespans on the planet, but they enjoy the most abundant health as well.
Many of these people live into their hundreds and live healthy, active lives, even in their later years.
The common traits shared by cultures living in the blue zones include a plant-rich and predominantly vegetarian lifestyle with very little meat, dairy, or eggs, low rates of smoking, strong social and family ties, and enjoyment of consistent and moderate physical activity. This is definitely the kind of lifestyle that I strive to emulate because I want to play tennis and travel and enjoy my family and grandkids for the next several decades.
And perhaps great-grandkids.
And perhaps
How
great-grandkids.
it goes again. And, this is the lifestyle that I pretty much have to follow as if my life depended on it, because my life really does depend on it.
You may wonder if there's any room in a healthy human diet for animal products. Well, we know that people in the blue zones did eat animal products on occasion, but in some areas it was extremely rare.
For example, in the traditional Okinawan diet in the 1940s, people would eat about 1 3-ounce serving of fish per week. Meat was eaten even less often, and they might eat 1 egg every 2 months.
In fact, 85% of their calories came from complex carbohydrates, primarily sweet potatoes, with about 9% of their calories from protein and a mere 6% from fat.
By contrast, the average American gets calories from meat, dairy, and eggs, while less than 6% of calories come from vegetables and less than 3% come from fruit. That could be much further than the Blue Zone diet. There's strong agreement amongst informed researchers that people eating the Western diet will benefit greatly from eating more plant foods and significantly less animal products.
The bottom line is that if you put diesel fuel in a gas-burning engine, it fouls up the engine. That's what we've been doing nutritionally. Eating meat and dairy products gunks up our systems.
On the other hand, whole plant foods are the clean burning fuel that makes the engine run smoothly.
This intrepid fellow proudly boasts, "I'm eating twice as many vegetables as I used to."
And she says, knowingly, 2 times nothing is still nothing.
Oh, it's a math problem.
It's a math
I get it, okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
So just to clarify, eating healthy is not about perfection. Straying off your optimal food path on occasion is not a deal breaker. It's the eating choices that you make day in, day out, meal by meal, snack by snack, that will determine your long-range health outcomes. What about other diets, such as keto, paleo?
Thank you for asking. These are variations on the low-carb, high-fat diet that was popularized in the 1970s by the Atkins diet. Many of you may remember hearing about that. That didn't go so well.
People lost weight in the short term, but now numerous studies show that people following the low-carb, high-fat diets have a much higher risk of mortality from all causes. Dr. Atkins himself died overweight, history of heart attack, congestive heart failure, and hypertension.
Nevertheless, we still see spin-offs popping up periodically. We've seen the South Beach diet, then the paleo, and now the ketogenic diet. And I just heard about the carnivore diet. Serious.
So you can definitely lose weight in the short term with any of these low-carb diets, but it almost always comes right back with interest. But the larger issue is that while you're dieting, you're damaging your arteries and long-range health.
A recent study published in The Lancet suggests that following a low-carb, high-fat diet could shorten your life expectancy by 4 years. Another study in the New England Journal of Medicine revealed what happens to arteries on different diets.
A vegan diet resulted in the cleanest arteries. The Western diet caused substantial fat formation, and the low-carb, high-fat diet caused severely clogged arteries with twice as much fat as even the Western diet.
So don't mess with these low-carb, high-fat diets. Eating plant-based, you not only lose weight, but you improve your long-term health. In fact, the plant-based diet is the only diet that has been proven to reverse and prevent heart disease. Not keto, not paleo, or any of these other diets.
The other bad.
Right.
So to quote an Ayurvedic proverb, when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is correct, medicine is of no need.
One of the extra benefits of eating plant-based for your health is that every meal that you eat also has a direct effect on the environment. It's like a free bonus.
A study recently published in the journal Science concluded that ditching or reducing animal products in the diet and in commodities is the single most effective way to reduce environmental impact.
For example, a person eating a vegan diet indirectly consumes 600 less gallons of water a day than a person eating the standard American diet. Think about that for a minute. You can do more for the environment by just simply eating more plant-based meals than taking shorter showers, driving an electric car, or recycling.
Once you decide to change, how do you go about it, David? What are the first steps?
In one sense, it's as easy as reaching for the non-dairy milk instead of a carton of cow's milk. That almost looks staged. Oh. It's really that simple. Just grab for the non-dairy alternative.
And you can make the change instantly or over time.
We changed overnight after watching Forks Over Knives. We made the commitment and figured it out as we went. For most people, it's probably easier to transition over time.
Either way, David's book is a good place to start.
Elizabeth?
It features an entire chapter devoted to making the transition. It covers how to change your habits, preparing your kitchen, shopping, transforming your meals, and establishing a support system.
The book addresses how to sustain a plant-based lifestyle. It includes what to eat on a daily basis, time and money-saving ideas, dealing with travel, dealing with cravings, dealing with family issues, and dining out.
This guy does not sleep very much. He collected a lot of information together. So this book really covers all the bases.
It includes in-depth nutrition information backed by 170 research citations and 165 flavorful recipes from super healthy to decadent, many of them contributed by Tracy.
There's even a chapter on cooking without recipes for those with an adventurous spirit. And the resources, oh my gosh, recommended apps, blogs, books, documentaries, social media sites, and more.
The good news about plant-based eating is that you don't have to suddenly acquire a taste for folk music or start wearing tie-dye clothes. Okay, all right. The bad news is that you can no longer say cheese when getting a picture taken. Sorry. So now we're going to take a moment to let you think about your own situation. Identify one of your favorite meals that could easily be converted to a plant-based meal. Think about that. There's some suggestions here.
So everybody got one in their mind? Okay, so find a partner. It could be 2 people or 3 people. We're just going to give you like 1 minute to share.
Exchange your ideas.
Exchange ideas. We'll let you know when the time is up. Anybody who needs a partner?
Okay.
Okay, how many people need more time? People need more time? Okay, let's take like another minute.
Okay.
All right, I know we can talk all day, but you can talk more at lunch.
Thank you so much.
Now you have some meal ideas that will help you live long and prosper.
And that's a good way to transition to plant-based eating. Transform one meal at a time. So don't try to do it all at once. Here are some other ideas for bringing more plants into your diet. Have a meatless Monday.
Try out a new plant-based restaurant.
Go to a Plant Diego event.
Try a 21-day Kickstarter.
Convert one of your favorite dinners into a delicious plant-based meal.
Take a cooking class, either online or in person, and expand your culinary skills.
Of course, once you start eating more plants, it may alter your behavior somewhat. Here we see a confirmed meat eater before his transformation.
Bob's Big Boy all the way.
Yep. And then we see the same person hugging the plant-based protein display at Target after his transformation, after his enlightenment. Yeah.
So plant-based
It's pretty well established that if you eat a well-rounded, whole food, plant-based diet with a lot of variety, you don't need much in the way of supplements, even though there's a huge market out there for them. However, vitamin B12 is an absolute must, and it's a good idea to get your vitamin D levels checked with your doctor.
And as far as supplements go, they may be optional unless you have special needs, of course.
Check out Dr. Greger's nutritionfacts.org, remember that one, and his book, How Not to Die, for recommended supplements. His information is also on the handout.
Also, David's book, page
Is it?
26.
Okay.
There's also a thorough discussion of supplements in a section called Nutrition Essentials for a Plant-Based Diet.
Making dietary and lifestyle changes can be unsettling, but can also be liberating and provide you with a life of better health and vitality. Your health is worth the effort.
The best news is that you can totally manage the transition to fit your situation. You can go all in like David and I did, or you can phase it in over time. Actually, there's a section in the book that talks about converting 3 meals at a time and going up to 9.
The general healthy guidelines that we've outlined here are a good place to begin. It's not about everyone becoming 100% vegan. It's about eating more whole plant-based meals because that's what matters.
The more whole food plant-based meals we all eat, the better it is for our individual health, the planet, and the animals.
And it's never too late to start.
The sooner you start, the sooner you will enjoy the benefits of more energy, improved brain
function.
brain
Yes.
function, reduced medication, and more.
Take Ann Fraser, for example. She became vegan at the tender age of 95 after watching the documentary, What the Health, with her granddaughter.
Which is another great documentary to watch. Overcoming the habits of a lifetime means making changes. All it takes is seeing things from a different point of view.
Donna and I did it, and we're thrilled with the results. You can do it too. Refer to the handout in your goodie bag. It has plenty of resources you can use to get started on your own plant food path.
Which, by the way, is also David's website.
Yeah.
Plant Food Path.
Just by coincidence.
As Virgil said, the greatest wealth is truly health. Why added the truly?
Yeah. Now we have a few minutes for your questions. You can also find us, right? Yes?
5 minutes.
Okay. You can find us at our table in the lobby during lunch, or shoot us an email. Reference citations, by the way, for any of the facts and figures in this presentation are posted on the Plant Food Path website in case you want to follow up on those. So questions? You've got one there.
You mentioned earlier no oils. What do you mean by no oils in butter?
So,
Let's repeat the question, just for the video. The question was, what about oil? We mentioned no oil. In some of the studies, it was no oil.
yeah. So, in the studies about heart disease, when Esselstyn had terminally ill patients that had heart and strokes and heart issues, he fed them plant-based meals, but he purposely did away with all, no olive oil, no any oil, because oil can contribute to building up atherosclerosis, in your arteries. So in a case where somebody's at risk for heart disease, it's important to eliminate all oil. But for the rest of us, if we're not at risk, you can have some oil in your diet, like avocados, walnuts. There's lots of whole foods that have oil. And it's pretty important to eat the whole food because there's other things that kind of counteract the effect of oil. That, as opposed to refined oil, when you take coconut oil and olive oil and all the safflower oil, all these other oils that are totally refined, taking out all the ingredients except for the saturated fat, that's what damages your body.
So just as far as what we do, we eat very, very little oil. Now, I did make some black bean brownies that are out there at our table from the book, the recipes in the book, that's Tracy's lovely recipe. But I did spray a tiny bit of oil, otherwise things stick on the pan, So we do use it, but very minimal. And then even when we're sauteing onions, we'll do it in water, and it
In whole foods, preferably. Eat avocados, eat walnuts. You know, those nuts have oil in them.
Flax seeds, if you find flax seeds, there's flax
Yeah,
seeds.
you don't need to have refined oil necessarily.
And the other question was, I know another person, you mentioned about not taking supplements, but if you eat, certain days you eat really well, and then there's days that you don't, is that, could you take a supplement when you need it, or is the supplements not work out there?
So the question was about supplements, and let me see if I can rephrase it right. Let me know if I don't. But you wanted to know about supplements, like if you eat well one day and then another day you don't, you might want to take some supplements on that day. Yeah, and my personal belief about supplements is that you really need to listen to your own body, and also maybe get help from a nutritionist or an acupuncturist or somebody who has a little bit more expertise, or read David's book. There's a lot of
And nutritionfacts.org is totally research-based, and that website has a lot to say about supplements.
Yeah, that's Dr. Grader.
Okay.
It's searchable too. You can go in there and put in oil, and he'll tell you all the research studies. He's
Yeah.
like
And
amazing.
he's got some very funny, humorous videos on all kinds of topics. Other questions?
Just to let everybody know that almost everybody that eats a standard American diet has heart disease. Even if we haven't been diagnosed of having heart disease, our diet has been contributing to it over the years. So getting rid of fats as much as possible, oils, things like that, it's just going to do us all a favor. It's, you know,
Yep.
we all have it. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
Other questions?
Mark?
Could you say something about the difference between vegan versus plant-based?
Plant-based.
Because we use both terms.
The question is, what's the difference between vegan and plant-based? Take it away, David.
Okay, so vegan or veganism is more like a philosophy. It's the idea of being sensitive to animals and not harming animals. And so it's not just an eating style, it's a commitment to, not have leather clothes and, anything that uses animal products. So it's more of a philosophy, and part of it is that you're not eating animals either.
Yeah. And basically, it's about having compassion for animals.
Yes, but eating a vegan diet doesn't necessarily mean healthy, because you can eat Oreos. They don't have any milk or meat in them, and potato chips, with a lot of oil. So you can eat non-healthy vegan food, or you can eat healthy vegan food. But a plant-based diet is, especially if it's whole plant-based, where you're eating more whole plants, that's more on the extreme of being a healthy diet. And it's not really a total philosophy, it's just about eating plants and healthy. Did that answer it?
Yeah.
Thanks. Other questions? Yes?
David, how did you overcome the myth that we need a lot of protein in our diet, and how do you include that in your diet?
I go out to my garden. Oh, sorry.
Is how do you overcome the myth about we need a lot of protein in our diets?
Go out to my garden and clip some kale and some collard greens and spinach, and there's a lot of protein in those, and there's protein in beans. I mean, the bottom line is we don't eat protein, and we don't eat carbohydrates, and we don't eat just fat, we eat foods. And the processed food industry kind of wants to get us thinking in terms of protein and carb, they have, this has got less fat or less sugar or whatever. They don't like to break it down into little tiny components, so you get you worried about that. But in reality, we should be just eating whole foods. And so if you want to get enough protein, you eat foods that have protein. And even the lowly little potato has protein in it. Amazingly, you just have to eat a lot of them, But the leafy greens and the broccoli and all those things, and things like amaranth and quinoa,
All your
beans and some grains.
Eat protein powder. Sometimes I put in my
Yeah.
smoothies if I feel like I need a little bit more protein. I'll put some of that in. So there's a lot of plant-based protein out there.
And we rotate our foods, and we don't even worry about protein. And I still play tennis at my tender age, and I'm faster on the tennis court than when I started this journey about 6.5. That's okay.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. She plays tennis with me.
That's one of our tennis partners. Okay, we
Okay.
have about 1 minute left. One more question?
Yes.
For a topping on a salad or something, what might you do instead of oils and dressings and things like that?
So the question is, as a topping on salads, what do you do instead of oil?
Okay. Well, Tracy has some nice recipes in the book for no oil dressings. And I found a company called Walden Farms that makes a whole array of oil-free dressings. You can get it at Sprouts, or I even buy some. If it's not in stock, I buy them directly from them online. And so if you don't want to take the time to make your own dressings, you know, they have any kind of flavor you want.
Like what's in it instead of oil?
Vinegar,
Avocado,
avocado, but also they use a lot of vinegar in the dressings, yeah. Air, it's basically made out of air. Well, thank you very much.